And we have more people coming in right now as we speak. So.
Okay. All right, I'm going to get going then. Is that good? I'll just do the intro. So
Of
we'll
course.
get started. Thanks.
We'll get started.
So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Life on Board Amtrak. I'm with Jarrett Kettinger with Amtrak Vacations, and he's going to go over with us what it's like to travel by train, what it looks like on the inside of the rail cars, the sleeper cars, and he's also going to go over several of their very popular national park itineraries. We will answer any questions from the chat box at the end of the presentation. So take it away, Jarrett.
Thank you, Vaughn, and thank you to all those on the presentation today. You are going to see me disappear for a few moments or for a little while because, of course, I want to direct everybody to be looking at the slides on the presentation, much more exciting than my face in the mirrors behind me, but you will all still get to hear me. And as we highlighted on the wait time prior to the presentation, anybody should feel free at any time to type any questions at all that they might have into the chat function on the Zoom presentation, and we will answer any and all questions during our Q&A session at the end of the presentation today. So my voice will still be here, but I am going to temporarily disappear, and you folks all can enjoy the nice slides that we have. I am the guest speaker. I want to thank Vaughn Hollingsworth for hosting me today, and I want to thank all of you for taking the time to sign on. We're going to be talking quite a bit today. What will we cover in today's presentation? We're going to be covering some exciting destinations. We're, of course, going to be talking about what life is like when traveling on board Amtrak, because I know that is of a lot of people's interests. We'll cover some of the safety precautions that Amtrak Vacations is covering during this time. And of course, we will have a friendly Q&A at the end for any and all questions. Popping up onto your screen now is the Amtrak Vacations Systems map. Everywhere on this map, you folks are seeing a colorful line. That's a route that Amtrak Vacations travels on. Everywhere you're seeing a dark blue or navy blue dot, whatever you want to refer to it as, that's a destination that Amtrak Vacations travels to, where we incorporate the hotels, the sightseeing, and the attractions all bundled together with the rail travel experience. And of course, all of this is bookable through our good friend Vaughn. So if you are looking to travel cross country, maybe go on a once in a lifetime rail trip, maybe go to one of the amazing national parks this year or next year, Vaughn, of course, will be able to help you with all of it. And her contact info was on the first slide and consequently will be on the last slide as well. Now, just so you folks know, Amtrak Vacations is currently harboring a maximum flexibility offer. The reason, of course, is that we understand, given everything last year, this year, some folks are a little bit hesitant to book. Maybe you're a little cognizant of what's going on in the world and you want to make sure there is a safety net of sorts. Well, just so you know, for any new reservations made through March 31st with Vaughn, any new reservations are able to change the travel dates or cancel as long as Vaughn, and by extension Amtrak Vacations, is informed 5 days or more prior to departure. And while I don't believe anyone currently has any current reservations, but if you do, any current reservations made previous to March 31st is able to change their dates as long as we're informed 5 days or more prior to departure. And again, that is without incurring any change or cancellation fee overall. Now, how is the rail operators maintaining a safe environment? Well, we're doing it in a bunch of different ways. Number one, facial coverings are being required to be worn throughout the stations and onboard the throughway motor coach services and onboard the train by everyone, passengers, staff, across the board. Amtrak has also enhanced its cleaning protocols, meaning that the stations inside and out are being cleaned daily, multiple times daily. That goes for the equipment, aka the trains as well. So number one, we're making sure everything is ship shape, spick and span. We are going cashless and contactless. As we can provide e-documents and e-tickets, it's requiring less of an interaction of people handing documents to each other. The trains themselves are running at a 50% less passenger capacity to allow for physical and social distancing. And there are brand new filtration systems on board the train, cleaning the air every 4 to 5 minutes. And this is very important for you folks to know. All of our rail vacations are customizable on multiple different levels. Number one, we can have you traveling from over 500 different Amtrak stations all throughout the USA and even some up in Canada. There are over 500 different stations to depart from. This is important for you folks to know that as we start heading in a few moments into some of our packages, knowing that, if the itinerary, say, starts from Chicago, you don't necessarily have to start from Chicago. We can get you customized to go from your most local convenient station. And when I say we can customize, what is the nitty-gritty on customization? What do I mean? Well, when working with Vaughn, you can select a rail journey, one of our great itineraries, and we'll go over some in a moment. But we can actually rework and retool our packages to fit your specific requests, such as you are allowed to choose your own hotel. There are a lot of tour vendors, travel companies in the world, where they've pre-booked nights at a certain select hotel that they've chosen, and they book you into it. With us, we allow you to choose from a menu of hotel options at each of our destinations. We can even add on destinations to the packages. For example, maybe you want to do a trip that goes out to San Francisco and up to Seattle, but you want to add an additional stopover in Portland, Oregon, or an itinerary that does Los Angeles and San Diego, but want to continue on to the Grand Canyon as well. We can rework or repackage our itineraries to fit your particular requests. And as I mentioned, but it's always worth mentioning again, you choose your property, the hotel property you stay at 3, 4, and 5-star options. And the reason that I like to bring this up is not just the convenience of you picking what is most convenient, preferable, or how you prefer to travel, but also we can not only pick and choose, but we can also do packages that in some areas, maybe you stay at a 3-star, 3.5-star hotel to save a little bit on your travel budget, but maybe you go to another destination and you stay at a 4-star itinerary. For example, maybe you do our Blues to the Bayou, which includes a stay for 2 nights in Memphis, 3 nights in New Orleans. In Memphis, you may stay at more of a standard, run-of-the-mill 3.5-star property, but in New Orleans, you really want to stay in the French Quarter. And so we have you stay at a nice 4.5-star property in the French Quarter. We can mix and match properties and star level options to fit your requests. And packing for the train is super simple, super easy. Number one, you're allowed 2 carry-ons of up to 50 pounds each per person and 2 check bags of up to 50 pounds each per person. And it's completely free. There's no cost to it. Also, luggage can be checked so close in as 45 minutes to an hour ahead of time. And the train stations are super simple to travel through. In fact, you can actually get to the train station roughly an hour ahead of time and still comfortably board the train. It's not like the airports with the airlines where you have to get there an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours if you happen to be going on an international flight. You can get to the station an hour ahead of time, check your luggage 45 minutes ahead of time, and comfortably board the train. So let's talk about what life is like on board. Well, number one, I do want to say that there's a little asterisk with this photo right here. Clearly, this photo was taken pre-2020. We are obviously now separating people, keeping folks at a safe distance, at a 50% less capacity. But to give you a level of context, this is what coach is like on board the train. 2 big, plush, comfy seats. What I like is there's no pesky middle seat like on many airlines. The seats themselves recline at a 45-degree angle with a leg rest that'll kick up, a tray table that will fold down for drinks, snacks, devices, laptops, etc., and convenient outlets right to the side to charge said devices. Plenty of leg room, plenty of room above head for luggage, and what I like to refer to as the window on the world, the big picture window that's built right into the coach seats. Because it's Amtrak and Amtrak Vacations philosophy that whether you're traveling in coach seat or the most deluxe accommodations on board the train, everybody should have the most best views right from the window of the train. Now, coach is comfortable, it's convenient, but there are some inherent benefits of upgrading to one of our sleeper cabin options on board the train. Number one, the sleeper accommodation passengers board the train separately and priority ahead of everyone else. So that is benefit number one. Benefit number two is, as I mentioned, everyone that's traveling throughout the train stations and on board the trains are required to wear a facial covering, a mask. That's pretty standard nowadays. However, I also mentioned that the new air filtration systems in the trains are cleaning out the air within the train cars every 4 to 5 minutes. And so if you are booked into one of our sleeper accommodations and you have your door shut, once that door is shut, you actually can remove your facial covering for your duration of stay within your train car. And so once that privacy door is shut and locked, you're good to go. And each train car that has a sleeping compartment has a dedicated car attendant. That's basically your onboard concierge, so to speak. They're there to include the toiletries of when you go take a shower. They also provide refreshments such as bottled water and coffee. And I can say this, the onboard attendants are quite generous. I've traveled extensively by way of train, and there's times they've also provided juices, they've also provided Coca-Colas and Diet Colas and Sprite. They also will come around quite often and knock on your cabin door and say, hey, Vaughn, I just wanted to let you know that in 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to be wanting to look out your window because XYZ mountain range is going to be visible, or you're going to be traveling past this incredible destination in the US. So there is quite a lot of benefits of those friendly car attendants. Now, to get all those benefits, book into a sleeper compartment. The first sleeper accommodation we're going to talk about is the sleeper roomette, which during the day has 2 big plush comfy seats. At night, everything folds down to bunk style sleeping. And here you can see what it looks like in the evening. Now, the sleeper roomette is kind of the mid-range between coach and bedroom. It's mid-range, the restrooms are down the hall, but it's its own private cabin within, that you have within your own room with a door that'll shut with a nice big picture window with sleeping accommodations in the evening. Now, the roomette's bathrooms are right down the hall. There's 3 to 4 bathrooms to every roomette car. And it's important to note that only those staying in the roomette car have access to those bathrooms. Additionally, as I mentioned earlier, Amtrak is traveling currently at a 50% less capacity. That means there's 50% less people using those restrooms. However, if you want your own private cabin with your own private shower and bedroom within the room itself, that is the deluxe bedroom accommodation, which is the bigger cabin on the train. It is a long couch, a big captain's chair, that's how we refer to it here, a nice big picture window to enjoy the sights out of. Everything still folds down to bunk style sleeping, but it has its own private bathroom and shower within the room itself. You can see another vantage point picture right here. Now, dining on the train is one of the highlights. And I always like to refer to that because there's so many jokes out there by comedians about airline food or even eating at the airports themselves. Where with Amtrak, the meals are actually cooked to order. And there's a full menu to choose from for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is a great example of a dinner menu where you can get Amtrak signature steak or some chicken marsala, or a big hearty plate of pasta and meatballs, or Creole shrimp and andouille sausage. And I keep saying or and or and or because there's a full menu to choose from. The meals themselves also are conveniently cooked to order, and as I mentioned, factored within the cost of the sleeper. And the meal options aren't just for multiple options on a menu. You can actually choose to either go and dine down in the dining car or have your meals delivered right to your cabin. So it's totally up to you whether you want to go down in the dining car or just have them delivered right to the privacy of your own cabin on the train. And I usually get some questions along the way about, hey, Jarrett, can I bring alcohol or some cocktails or something on board the train? And the answer is yes, which is why I'm showing this slide now. However, what we will say is if you are bringing the cocktail of whatever sorts onto the train, you have to be enjoying it within a private cabin. What does that mean? You have to be booked into a private cabin on board the train. So simple as that. You can also purchase drinks out of pocket from the bar car on the train if, say, you are not bringing it from outside onto the train car. And now this is where I want to take a second, and I think Vaughn would agree with me on this, where we want to make sure everybody is cognizant of the chat function, because I'm really interested to get the responses on this question I have for the folks on this Zoom meeting. Who here is ready to get out and step off the train and do some social distancing into the open spaces of the U.S. national parks? I'm usually excited to get the responses because on other Zoom meetings I've gotten, I'm ready as soon as I can. But if anybody wants to type what their response is into the chat function on the Zoom, I am always excited to get other folks excited about the U.S. national parks, as that will be the first packages we are talking about today. The first of which being Glacier National Park. Christine Reber said, I would love to explore the national parks, and I think that love comes with a little emphasis on there, and I agree with you 100%, Christine. My response is always a hearty woo-hoo, even to myself, as I bring up the national park packages. The first package we're going to highlight today is the Glacier National Park Getaway. As you can see, everything is pre-packaged together. You can see listed on the dots 3 nights hotel accommodations. That's at Glacier Park Lodge. 1 dinner included, also included at the lodge. We provide you 1 meal. We highlight the 2 forms of sightseeing, the 2 Medicine Valley boat cruise, which is a very scenic, very serene cruise out onto one of Glacier's many lakes. we include a full day sightseeing tour of Glacier National Park. That is very convenient as well, because that's done in what those open top red buses. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a special on Glacier on the History Channel or National Geographic or Discovery, but these are open top red vehicles that are fresh air all around because they're open tops. They also travel all throughout the park on a full day tour, traveling up the Going to the Sun Road, throughout the mountains, going down St. Mary Valley. Plenty of opportunities for wildlife viewing and plenty of picture taking opportunities. Now, what you're not seeing here listed as a starting from point. Does anybody remember how many different stations you could actually have this rework to start from? I mentioned it earlier in the presentation. There are over 500 different stations. So this itinerary is a sample of what is included within the package, but we could get you going from anywhere to head out to Glacier Park. And here you can see a photo of some of the incredible scenic beauty of Big Sky, Montana. Fun fact, Glacier National Park is our top selling destination because the Amtrak goes right up to the door to the eastern end of the park. Another popular itinerary is our Grand Canyon Getaway. Very similar to Glacier, the train goes right into Flagstaff, which is about a 35-minute ride, which we include complimentary connecting from the Flagstaff station to what's known as Williams, Arizona, which is the gateway to the Grand Canyon. How this itinerary works, as you can see, 3 nights hotel accommodations are included. 2 nights are in Williams. 1 night is actually in the south rim of the canyon at the historic village. You'll see that in a moment. How this itinerary works is you start off from whatever train station is most convenient and closest to home. You'll eventually take it on into Flagstaff. We transport you from Flagstaff to Williams, Arizona. You do 1 night stay in Williams, which is a historic Route 66 town at the Grand Canyon Railway Hotel. The next day you wake up. Breakfast is included for you at the lodge. And then we have you travel on the Grand Canyon Railway. You see it listed in round trip in coach accommodations because we will have you travel from Williams through the desert and Ponderosa Forest into the south rim of the canyon. Upon arriving at the south rim, you actually are immediately put on a guided day tour of the Grand Canyon South Rim, going to several scenic overlook points for picture taking opportunity. And then after that tour is over, you're delivered to the lodge that you will be staying at the South Rim itself. So you'll actually spend a night there before taking the Grand Canyon Railway back to Williams, 1 night in Williams at dinner, and continue on. And with the Grand Canyon, its majestic beauty speaks for itself. I love just throwing up a photo of it and people just saying, oh my God, this is why I want to go there. This is why I need to visit there. And I mentioned that I was going to show you folks an example of a mock-up of what it looks like at the south rim of the canyon. Here it is, a colorful drawing of the historic village at the south rim of the canyon. There are multiple lodges to choose from. The most standard lodge is the Maswick Lodge, but there are lodges such as the El Tavar and the Kachina Lodge that sit on the canyon's rim edge that you can be booked into. There's plenty of areas down at the south rim for places to dine, touristy spots to buy some souvenirs, local museums, historical spots, and great places to just walk around, stroll around. Now, I mentioned earlier in the presentation a couple of times, we can get you started from over 500 different stations throughout the USA to depart from. This itinerary reads is our Grand National Parks with Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon. And as you can see by the map, it's indicated that it departs and ends in Chicago. I've had several good conversations with Vaughn prior to this webinar. We can rework it for any itinerary to start from anywhere. So whether it's starting from a station much closer, avoiding going to Chicago, or whether you choose to fly to and from Chicago at the beginning or end, the real reason I wanted to show you this is because with Amtrak vacations, no matter where you're starting from, we can actually send you to multiple national park trips all on one journey, whether it's the Grand Canyon, Grand National Parks with Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon, whether it's Glacier National Park, and in a few moments, I'll be showing you Utah's Mighty Five. We can do multiple national parks all on one journey. So this trip, as it's designed, includes a ride on the California Zephyr, which is one of Amtrak's most scenic routes. Depending on where you're coming from, whether you're coming out of the east or west, you could be going through the Sierra Nevada mountain range, you could be going through the Colorado Rockies. It really just depends on where you're starting. This includes a 2-night stay inside Yellowstone, with a full day tour of Yellowstone National Park. What you can see featured in the photo there is the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, which is a gigantic flowing waterfall running into a fast-running river that's cut a giant canyon throughout the park. And that's one of several scenic overlook points that you would do on a full day tour of the park. Other stops include Old Faithful Geyser, travel down the Painted Pots Highway, going to the Dragon Spring, which is a cave that gurgles and smokes as if there's a dragon hiding inside, and Yellowstone being famous as America's first established national park. We also include a full day tour to Yosemite by way of San Francisco. So the way this itinerary is designed is that it includes a couple of nights stay in San Francisco with a full day tour from early morning to late into the evening of a full day excursion throughout the park. Travel on the Coast Starlight, which is one of my favorite rides, riding right down the coast of California. I can tell you there is few things more relaxing than sitting on the train, watching the waves crash the sunset over the ocean as you're sitting back, relaxing, having a meal, and enjoying the beautiful ride on the Starlight. Taking the Southwest Chief from Los Angeles overnight through into the Southwest, into Arizona, to historic Route 66, Williams, Arizona, to access the Grand Canyon. And for whatever package it may be, whether it's the Grand Canyon Getaway, whether it is this Grand National Parks trip or one of our other many Grand Canyon journeys, we base the round trip service on the Grand Canyon Railway between Williams, Arizona and the South Rim in coach accommodations. Should you decide to go ahead and book a Grand Canyon trip, it's definitely worth asking Vaughn to check on availability to one of the upgraded services on the Grand Canyon Railway, such as the first class, which includes plush, comfy seating, upgraded from coach, as well as refreshments, or even the observation dome, which you can see in the upper left-hand photo, where you're automatically seated in the dome window car with the fresh refreshments included, with the more plush, comfy seating. And then if you're really excited and really gung-ho, maybe even ask Vaughn about the luxury parlor class, which is the highest level of service. It is styled like an 1800s bar car. It's at the back of the train with cocktails served and access to an open air outdoor viewing platform at the back of the train car. So definitely worth inquiring about. And just as before, we do include a wonderful night stay at the south rim of the canyon. This showing this slide is always very convenient because it includes the ooh-ah point, which I don't think you really need to elaborate on beyond the fact that it is quite literally titled the ooh-ah point. Simple as that. So that, folks, is the Grand National Parks with Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon all together. And then we have, as I mentioned earlier, packages that cover Utah's mighty 5 national parks: Arches, Canyonlands, Bryce, Zion, Capitol Reef. We have packages that combine them with the Grand Canyon. So you can see here, this is a good example of it, where we would have you traveling, again, coming from whatever station is closest to you, heading out to Grand Junction, which is the jumping off point for a guided sightseeing several-day excursion through Arches and Canyonlands, through Zion, Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef, Lake Powell, eventually ending in Williams, doing the round-trip service on the Grand Canyon Railway from Williams into the south rim of the canyon for a stay and back. And these photos really encompass and capture the beauty of Utah's mighty 5, from Arches to the great, magnificent rock structures of Zion National Park, the hoodoos, the crown-like, little oddity, not little, but oddity structures of the rocks in Bryce Canyon, and encompassing a very leisurely train trip with a customized multinational park vacation all on one. You can see Lake Powell featured at the bottom. So that's the Grand National Parks of the Southwest, Bryce and Zion to the Grand Canyon. Now, folks, this is one of many options for the Utah's Mighty 5 trips. So this is just a sample option. We have ones that do longer day trips through the national parks. We have shorter, more concise trips. Vaughn, of course, would be able to get you some more options when working with us. And then we also wanted to highlight Alaska. We can do Alaska. Alaska is trending huge with us this year, given that there have been some restrictions in terms of cruising. Well, we can do Alaska by land with the Alaska Railroad. This itinerary starts in Anchorage. Just as you saw on the other maps, basically wherever you see a bubble with a number in it, that's the amount of overnights at a hotel at a destination. How this works is that it does 2 nights in Anchorage before heading down to Seward. By the way, when staying in Anchorage, the major cultural hub of Alaska, we include a Alaskan trolley, Anchorage trolley tour, which is an hour-long loop tour throughout the city of Anchorage, where you can use it to familiarize yourself with the city, but also use it as a hop-on, hop-off option to explore Earthquake Park, Lake Hood, where you can purchase admission onto one of the biplanes there rather. There is access to stops over at the Anchorage History and Art Museum. So you can, again, use the 1-hour loop to explore the city and then get on and off at the major attractions at your leisure. Now you will travel concisely throughout Alaska by way of the Alaska Railroad system. There are 2 levels of class of service on board. There is the adventure class, which come with designated seating directly next to big picture windows, and you have access to travel back and forth between the various adventure class cars. There is access to the Wilderness Cafe, where you can purchase meals, snacks out of pocket, and you can always, if there's open space in the seating, go up to the Vista Dome, which you can see in the lower left-hand corner. The adventure class is the starting from class of service on all of our Alaskan packages. However, you may want to inquire with Vaughn about upgrading to the Gold Star service, which come automatically with seats on the upper level dome cars on the Alaska Railroad system. Meals are provided in the downstairs dining car. There's access to the open air viewing platforms that you can see in the upper photo there. And it also includes, with the seating, two complimentary adult beverages in the private Gold Star service bar car. So there are many inherent benefits. Also, the Gold Star service travelers have a guide that travels with them, regaling you about info about where you're traveling through, great anecdotes and history stories of Alaska, quite a lot that's included. Now, this itinerary does 2 nights in Anchorage before heading down to Seward for a 1-night stay, where we include a boat cruise. Sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit there. A boat cruise out to the Kenai Fjords National Park. What is important to note about that is that boat cruise goes to areas such as Fox Island that are preserved islands that you would not otherwise be able to visit were you not on the boat day cruise tour. From there, you'll head up into Talkeetna on a beautiful ride through the Alaskan wilderness. Talkeetna is a quaint, a former mining town that was big during the gold rush. It has been listed in many articles as one of the places you absolutely should visit on your trip through Alaska because it has that old small town feel, but it is also the jumping off point to Denali National Park. Denali, with its formerly known mountain as Mount McKinley, is the highest peak in North America, standing at over 20,000 feet high. And you will actually have a full day tour through Denali National Park on the sightseeing tour. It's full day from basically 8 in the morning until 6:30 at night. You'll travel 95 miles into Denali National Park. Lunch is included at the Miners Day Lodge. And it's not just a guided sightseeing tour on a motor coach, which is included, but you also can choose from one of 3 included options additional to the tour, which is either a guided history tour, a nature hike, or you can even opt in to be taught how to pan for gold like a gold rustler. So that is also an included activity on the tour. So we're coming to the end of the presentation slowly but surely, but it is important to note that there are everyday discounts that you can inquire with when working with Vaughn on one of our packages. For any of our Amtrak travelers or on one of our Amtrak packages, children aged 2 to 12 receive a 50% discount off the base rail ticket fare. Seniors 65 and over receive a 10% discount off the base rail ticket fare. And then any active military personnel, as well as the spouses and dependents of the active military personnel, and now veterans of any age as well, will receive a 10% discount off the base rail ticket fare. And now is the time, if we have any questions for our Q&A, that you can start typing them into the chat box, I should say. And we always like to ask the question, what destinations are you interested in? And when might you want to visit those destinations? Feel free to type that into the chat box as well. And as always, of course, I'm sure Vaughn shares the same feeling, but we wanted to say thank you for joining us. And here you can see Vaughn's easy contact information. If any of these destinations or packages got you with a little wanderlust, feel free to give her a call and chat with her about your next journey. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat function now.
So thanks everyone. I know I'm not seeing any questions yet, but one of the things I wanted to ask Jarrett is I understand that in Denali National Park, we saw the bus going into the park. For average drivers, you know, in their vehicles, you're only allowed to go, I think, 5 or 6 miles into the park. And then everything after that to explore further, you need to be on a tour. So there are other options besides Amtrak, but just to let you know, it's not one of the parks like Glacier or Yellowstone where you have complete access to drive around.
That is correct. Whereas this one, as opposed to say 5 or 6 miles, you will actually travel 95 miles into and throughout the park. So quite an extensive excursion on that day.
And Jared, we have a question, yeah. Are there prices for single travelers, or is it like cruises where it's double occupancy?
So that's always a very good question, and thank you to Christine for inquiring about it. So it's kind of almost splitting the difference between the two. So with a cruise line and some tour operators, you almost have to pay double to cover that second person that happens to not be in that, you know, cabin or what have you. With us, you will pay full freight for, say, your hotel room, because you got to cover 100% of a hotel room no matter what, or full freight for a cabin on board the train. But you're only going to pay for one train ticket. You're only going to pay for one admission to Denali or Glacier National Park, or one person riding on the Grand Canyon Railway. So it isn't the exactly, you know, almost 100% for a single traveler, as opposed to, you know, as opposed to two people traveling and splitting it between the two, if that makes any sense.
Okay, is there any other questions out there that we can answer? I think most people have my email address, so if you have questions after this, or if you think of it later, please feel free to email me at any time and I'll get the answer for you. But I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And again, I'll be sending out the recording link probably tomorrow. So I'm going to stop the recording, and everybody have a great day. Thanks very much.
Thank you.